just a name in that room with the cane. A notebook and a glass case. Bullets and daffodils for every young man killed, bloodstained against the yellow hill. Poppies and monuments for a generation lost. The wind of war is never still. No, it's never, never still. Still, still, never still.
My subject is war, the pity of war. Words said by an unknown poet. Silenced by a bullet, his words continue to speak to every generation. Words of anger, loss, truth, and pity. The poetry is in the pity. The poetry of Wilfred Owen.
While passing bells for those who died was count. Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifles rapid round can patter out hasty arson. No mockeries for them, no prayers, no bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs. The shrill dramatic choirs of the wailing shells, echoes calling for them from set shut. And while candles may be held to speak alone, not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes, shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbye. The power of God's brows should be their palm. The flowers, the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk, the drawing down of blinds.
We were always well off and respectable. I knew my son Wilfred would do well for himself if he had the right start in life. We lived in my father's huge house. But when he died, it seems he was a man of straw, deep in debt. And soon the wolf was at the door. We had to pack up and sell everything in a public auction. The shame was unbearable. We moved north to a rough town. Filthy streets choked with smoke and noisy cars. What a shock. Tom, my husband, had a decent job on the railways, but the money wasn't very good. And Wilfred's school fees broke the bank. When he entered the institute, he must have stood out. And it took guts to walk through those iron school gates. But that boy had nerves of steel.
Don't let the town get you down, Wilfred. There's plenty of worse places. The trees are made of steel. There's overcrowded open spaces. We say it like it is round here when something needs to be said. When work is hard to come by, hungry mouths must still be fed. Get your pen and your paper, Wilfred. Welcome to Birkenhead. You're just a stone's throw from the school. Your mother watches you from the window. You're a pride and a joy. fire in your imagination. All those years in broken head.
And he quickly grew to love school. The wonders of romantic literature fired his imagination. The words of Keats and Shelley were inspirational. I could tell early on that Wilfrid had his heart set on a life devoted to poetry. Oh, how I would cherish the letters he would send. Of my 4 children, I felt particularly close to Wilfrid. His keen insight showed perception beyond his years. So for him to write and tell me what was happening and how he was feeling in such attentive detail seemed only natural. My religious faith remained strong, but my pride was badly shaken by the move away from my father's country house. Now, when I opened the front door, it was right onto a cobbled street, and like the grime-filled streets surrounding it, stank of something putrid but unnameable. It hung in the air. Smoke from nearby factories enveloped the coarse-voiced neighbours, all seemingly dressed in threadbare clothes and filthy rags.
This house is drafty and the floorboards creak. The walls are thin, but it's hard to speak. You keep the front door like a brand new pin. You keep the curtains closed so they don't look in. You crack china when you grind on the log. Time passing fast, no, it never stops. Piano music and embroidery. Dressing for dinner with scraps for tea. It's not what you used to, but you're making do. Oh, you're making do. You feel part of a different class. And those round here, the down and outs. Everybody's equal at the end of the week. It's dirty washing results to meet. It's not what you used to, but you're making do. Oh, you're making do. It's not what you used to, but you're making do. Susan, you're making do.
When Tom got promotion, returning to Shropshire was my first priority. The arrangements were quickly made, and I knew we were leaving Birkenhead forever. When Wilfrid finished school, he took up a post with a church in Dunstan. It was there, while visiting the poor and sick, that he directly experienced suffering and injustice for the first time. The effect on Wilfrid was profound. He renounced his faith in the church. He spoke of hypocrites that lived well, while so many of the congregation went without. I felt the connection between us shift. It became weaker when Wilfrid went to France to teach English. There he was free of my expectations and what could be suffocating embrace of a mother's love. His newfound liberty allowed him to experiment with all aspects of the bohemian lifestyle. Local drinking dens, where he even developed a taste for cigarettes and alcohol.
Try all my life to fit in just right, be what you want me to be. Now the prodigal son is away having fun, far across the sea. I'm not going back to the great cul-de-sac. Now all of my bridges are burned. My first taste of freedom, I'm changing the clothes that I wear. Wine will flow like poetry, 'cause now is the time to be me. I've learned a new language, the past has been vanquished. I'm accepted for who I am, but in the back of my mind it's the ones left behind. It's the essence of a man. It starts with a whisper, then it gets clearer. A voice inside you somewhere. It's hard to describe it. You can't hide it. It hangs like a ghost in the air. And the rest is history. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time to be me.
When Wilfrid first heard rumours of war, he visited a hospital in Bordeaux. The scenes that awaited him were burned deep into his consciousness. The horror of the injuries, the torment on the faces of the injured men. He saw how their dreams of war glory turned out, screaming to be released from hellish pains and purgatorial torments in a makeshift hospital ward. And yet back home, we were swept up in it all, confident that the conflict would be over in a matter of months. Young men in their prime, driven by thoughts of valour, glory, and patriotism, rushed to join up. Objectives were picked on, singled out, made outcast and worse. Fighting for king and country was seen as a noble duty, and though some spoke out about the senseless nature of the slaughter, the great mass of able-bodied young men were carried along in a surging wave of war propaganda. Wilfrid said he enlisted to preserve all that was English. So he became another volunteer marching off to war. But it was us, the women, left at home, who lined the streets waving flowers and fighting back tears, that sensed death was drawing near. So many of these beautiful, unwitting boys.
Front line, the noise never stopped. The yelling, the screaming, the shouting and the crying. So it's all seen this afternoon. But us Scots just sang as loud as we could, singing for our lives.
The pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the inside. The summer's gone and all the roses fallen. 'Tis you, must stay and I must bide. Come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. I'll be here in sunshine or in the shadow. Oh Danny boy, oh Danny boy, I love you so. And if you come and all the flowers are dying and I am dead, as dead I will be, place where I am lying and kneeling to see a navvy clear for me. And I shall hear the soft G tread above me, and on my grave a woman sweet to me. Here in sunshine or in shadow, and I will rest in peace until you come to me. I will rest in peace until you come to me.
Wilfred was an officer. He was plunged right into the thick of it. Now the stench, the countless all-conquering outrages of war filled his senses. In the trenches there was disease. Disease carried by rats, which gorged on the flesh and guts of young men. Oh, those pitiless battlegrounds, where men in their prime turned into helpless, gibbering wrecks, undone by a fearful, all-pervasive pall of death. It was everywhere, not least in the pitifully haunted look that blazed in the eyes of those war-ravaged men. Those poor creatures, facing endless assaults on body, soul and sanity. With a change in the weather came a fresh kind of hell. The gangrene incubating slurries of mud and blood created by the rain turned into a hard, unyielding frozen desert. Men lost limbs to frostbite. In the midst of all this inhuman horror, Wilfred had to offer his men words of comfort and reassurance. I knew, whether asleep or awake, in the midst of dream, or in the cold, harsh light of reality, his poetic soul would be constantly haunted by these memories, images and thoughts, the dying boys he cradled in his arms, just as I had once cradled him.
In the grand scheme of the troubles in Ireland at that time, the Bangor 1981 ball was small beer, but the newspaper report, with my mother's comment at the end, was insightful. Later she told me how, when the bomb exploded and she put her hands to her head, she felt that if she took her hands away, her head would fall apart. Everything was moving slowly, and something trickled down my face. I felt my life blood drain away, she said. Dulce et decorum est. Bent double, like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares, we turned our backs and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue. Death, even to the hoots of tired, outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim, through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him, drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cut of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria more.
One by one, Wilfred's letters started to arrive. My own sweet mother, I can see no excuse for deceiving you about these last few days. I have suffered seventh hell. I have not been at the front. I have been in front of it. I held an advanced post, that is, a dugout in the middle of no man's land. We had a march of 3 miles over shelled road, then nearly 3 along a flooded trench. After that, we came to where the trench had been blown flat out and had to go over the top. It was, of course, dark, too dark, and the ground was not mud. Not sloppy mud, but an octopus of sucking clay. 2, 3, 4, and 5 feet deep. their waders, equipment, and in some cases, their clothes. Your ever-loving Wilfred.
Jesus Christ, our heads. He said that he died, whether he vainly cursed or prayed indeed. The bullets chirped in vain, in vain, in vain, in vain. Machine guns chuckled turn, and the big gun guffawed. Another side, oh mother, mother, oh dad, and smiled at nothing, childlike for being dead. The lofty shrapnel cloud, the leisurely gestured fool, the splinters they spat, they tear. Seemed his wound to slowly he lowered his whole face, he kissed the blood, and the bayonet's long teeth grinned, and the rabble of shells, they hooted and they groaned, and the gas hissed. Jesus Christ, our heads.
When he was a child, I taught Wilfred right from wrong, heaven from hell. But there is more than one kind of hell. I am constantly haunted by the image of Wilfred, caught in the horror of the trenches. I try to push it from my mind, but it's impossible.
There's no way out of here when you come in, you're in for good. There was no promise made, the part you played, the chance you took. There are no boundaries set, the time, and yet you wasted still. Your hands like grains of sand, you watch it go. There's no time to be lost, you'll pay the cost, so get it right. There's no way out of here when you come in, you're in for good. You blame the chance you took. There's no way out of here when you come in, you're in for good.
I dreamed kind Jesus filed the big gun gears and caused a permanent stoppage in all boats, and buckled with a smile misers and colts, and rusted every bayonet with his tears. And there were no more bombs of ours or theirs, not even an old flintlock, nor even a pike'll. But God was vexed and gave all power to Michael. And when I woke, it seemed to our repairs.
Danger was ever present. Somehow Wilfred survived a 15-foot fall. Soon after, his luck ran out. He was blown high into the air when a shell exploded nearby. When he came to, he was trapped under a sheet of corrugated iron. The blast had blown the remains of a recently buried soldier all around him. Wilfred remained there, amongst the ruins of the dead man, for many long hours, until battle ceased. This was the breaking point for Wilfred. The human mind can only take so much. Of course he recoiled and fought against it. There was no escaping the horror. Eventually he broke down and reluctantly entered hospital, shell-shocked. Shell shock, a human condition first diagnosed in this war, as soldiers' own minds served time on their convulsing limbs to stop. Enough.
His fingers wake and flutter up the bed. His eyes come open with the pull of will, held by the yell that smoking somewhere outside? Why are they laughing? What's inside this joke? Nurse, doctor, oh nurse, doctor, help me nurse, oh doctor. But a sudden dusk bewilders all, yeah. There seems no time to want a drink of water. Nurse looks so far away and everywhere. Music and roses burn through crimson slaughter. It's cold, cold yet so hard. There's someone talking outside. Why are they laughing? What's inside this joke? Nurse, doctor, oh nurse, nurse, oh doctor, oh nurse, nurse, oh doctor, doctor, doctor. Is there anybody there?
He sat in a wheeled chair and shivered in his ghastly suit of grey. Legless, so short at elbow. How do you recover from such experiences? Maybe you don't. Maybe the only way to deal with them is to reclaim them, to try to give shape to the incomprehensible. That's what Wilfrid began to do at hospital. Fate intervened there at the hospital. To Wilfrid's amazement, he befriended one of his poetic heroes, Siegfried Sassoon. fit and well, Sassoon had been placed there for speaking out against the war. Unrepentant, he saw the potential in Wilfred and encouraged him to work through his traumas creatively. My son bore witness to the horrors of the trenches and was spurred on to castigate those responsible for it. Recovery for Wilfred meant reliving many of the horrors he had witnessed. They were buried deep in his heart and mind. Set free, they gave his poetry strength, making it real and potent.
Sassoon himself recalled, "I cannot remember that we ever discussed or compared active service experiences, but we were, both of us, working steadily and at intervals submitted the results to each other. Owen doing so with a modesty which now seems more remarkable than it did to me at the time. For instance, he has recorded in a letter that he was not working or worthy to light my pipe, an observation which posterity will firmly repudiate. I can remember going through the manuscripts with him as we sat in a corner of the cavernous hall, where I first became aware of the masterly quality of his verse. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of tired, outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. Gas. Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie. Dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. In July 1918, Siegfried Sassoon was put on sick leave for what remained of the war. Owen saw it as his patriotic duty to take Sassoon's place at the front, that the horrific realities of war might continue to be told. Sassoon was violently opposed to the idea of Owen returning to the trenches, threatening to stab him in the leg if he tried it. Aware of the attitude, Owen did not inform him of his intercourse.
In the late 90s, the Teacup Army Barracks in Camberley, Surrey, many soldiers committed suicide. Their souls clambered onto clouds, which drifted back in time to Siegfried Sassoon, who was writing this poem. You know, I knew a simple soldier boy who grinned at life in empty joy, slept soundly through the lonesome dark and whistled early with the lark. But in winter trenches, cowed and glum, with crumbs and lice and lack of rum, he put a bullet through his brain, and no one spoke of him again. You smug-faced crowds with kindling eye who cheer when soldier lads march by. Sneak home and pray you'll never know the hell where youth and laughter go.
Wilfred had a new sense of purpose now. He had found a way to respond to those that belittled him. The generals that accused him of cowardice for breaking down were now silenced. With his experiences set in the framework of his poetry, he felt able to give his men the best leadership possible. On his final visit home, he sat around the fire with his brother and told him what he had decided to do. They both looked so handsome in their uniforms, so capable. Wilfred's hair was flecked with grey, but he was distinguished. Upstairs in bed, I lay awake until the soft rhythm of their voices sent me to sleep. I dreamt of them as children, playing soldiers in the garden, and pretending to be dead. I woke with a start.
Feel the strength of your conviction, going back to the front line, my brother, tonight. My mother and father are upstairs in their bed. They didn't hear a single word we've said. In their slumber, they just don't know they'll never see you again after tomorrow. Going back to the front line, dear brother, tonight. Time loves a hero, old statues never mourn. Hatch up the boys and send them back home. And ring out the bells so everyone can see that freedom isn't free. No, our freedom isn't free. Well, freedom isn't free.
Back in the war, Wilfred was a different person. He had learned to separate the soul from a soldier. Always a brilliant marksman, he seldom missed a target. He led his men with skill, like a true officer, and was admired. To think, my gentle boy, who shivered in the cold of his attic bedroom, was laying waste and capturing enemy machine gun posts, and rewarded with a medal. What clay carved this man from my poet boy? His letters filled with pride, even playful, from the shelter of a cellar that seemed the lap of luxury. He sensed the worst was over and was taking stock of his life.
Country vicarage, acres of open meadows. Home is a smoky catacomb with my band of fine fellows. There's no danger down here. It's a good life to be led. I hope you're sleeping soundly, mother, warmly in your bed. 'Cause I'm more than your girlfriend out here in the sun. I remember working at the church where the sheep they dressed like people. Lazy days in Shrewsbury, the rooftops and the steeple. Out there in France, discovering wine and cigarettes, losing my faith and finding poetry. I've got no regrets that I followed my heroes. Those words come home. It's early in the morning, the grey November light. Men are up and getting ready, rifles bayonets fitted tight. I'm sending you this letter, it'll reach you, I know, by chance. And by the time you read it, it'll be over here at last. Your loving friend on the banks of yours. Always, always yours.
Dearest mother, so thick is the smoke in this cellar that I can hardly see by a candle 12 inches away. And so thick are the inmates that I can hardly see for pokes, nudges, and jolts. On my left, the company commander snores on a bench. It is a great life. I am more oblivious than less, dear mother, of the ghastly glimmering of the guns outside and the hollow crashing of the shells. I hope you are as warm as I am, soothed in your room as I am here. I am certain you could not be visited by a band of friends half as fine as surround us here. There is no danger down here, or if any, it will be well over before you read these lines. Move him into the sun.
Whispering fields on song. for this. They grew tall. What manufactured sunbeams tall to break the earth's sleep and walk.
A week later, to the sound of church bells, peace is declared. Through the bustling streets of Wilfrid's hometown, a mail boy fights through the crowds of cheering women and children, all with flags and bunting. The telegram in his hand must be delivered today, and of all days, Armistice Day.
As a cold grey dawn broke, Wilfrid's unit were up and attempting to cross a canal. The enemy were dug in on the far bank. The deathly whisper of a bullet broke the morning silence and shattered my world forever. In 7 days, the war would be over. So would my dreams of ever seeing him alive again. Day after he was killed, he was promoted to lieutenant. And there was his medal. Was it for this?
There's only one truth I've ever known. It's when I heard you call. I'm behind you, I'm at your side. Am I a fool or a hero? Can you decide? But I fight for you. Play my whole life now. I die for you. Lay my heart if you're ever in the rain, bullets or pain, I'll make that sacrifice again and again. It's those words that you left behind, help to stand up to the test of time. I will fight for you. Lay my whole life down. I die for you. Lay my I will fight for you. Lay my whole life down. I will die for you. Lay my
This is not about heroes. English poetry is not yet fit to speak of them. Nor is it about deeds or lands, nor anything about glory, honor, might, majesty, dominion, or power, except war. Above all, I am not concerned with poetry. Yet these images are to this generation in no sense consolatory. They may be to the next. All a poet can do today is warn. That is why the true poets must be truthful.